Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to Doom Patrol episode 8. So, last time we had therapy, and didn't quite go so well because Cliff was leading it, and Cliff doesn't quite seem to know how to do therapy. Um, I feel like it was important, and it was something they needed to do, and they were even making a little bit of headway, but things kind of went off the rails once it was Jane's turn. So yeah, but I'm glad that they're talking things through and thinking things through and trying, at least trying, to make things a little better. Because it's something. And in the meantime, we still have Mr. Nobody plotting behind the back and causing a lot of trouble for everyone with rats. So who knows what else is going to happen? Now, I was told in the comments that apparently it gets much, much crazier and weirder and whatnot. And it's like, yeah, I kind of already expected that. Um, I, I figured that we hadn't even really reached any kind of level of crazy for this series yet. I mean, it's still like this marks pretty much the halfway point of this season. There's 15 episodes of the season. We're at episode 8 now, so pretty much halfway point. There's no exact, but I expect that with this second half, we are definitely going to be starting to get a lot crazier, a lot more weird, a lot more fun things happening with that. Um, and then season 2, who knows how that's going to go. But like I said, I really am enjoying this. But I have been thinking if this is another one of those shows I do want to take a mid-season break on, like I have with ReZero, or I guess technically you could say I have with Pandora Hearts, even though that one I just put on doesn't really have a mid-season per se, and I don't think I. Well, I mean it does, but I don't think that's where I put it on hold. Um, and it's like just we would just go to something else real quick, and then come right back to Doom Patrol. It's just I've just been wondering about it because it's like because each of these episodes are an hour long, it takes a bit out of me at times. So I don't know. It's just I was considering it, and I think I'll have to decide by the end of this reaction. Basically, I think it's gonna. I think I'm gonna determine it based on how I feel after this reaction. If this has continued to make me just feel tired with reacting to like this hour long thing at a time, then I'll probably put it on hold for now and come back to the rest of the episodes of the season after watching something else, probably something short. Um, and here's the thing, because like the big difference between doing a show like this and One Piece when I was doing the 4 episodes a week, it's like with One Piece I was doing 4 episodes a week. The pacing of each episode felt normal. So when I did 4 of them a week, it still felt like just a kind of a normal set of episodes. With this, it's one episode that's double length. So it just feels like it's going on. And even when the episode goes by quickly because I'm enjoying it, just overall, because it's so long and it takes up so much recording time and all. Again, I'll determine it by the end of this reaction. And I'll talk about it more in the afterthoughts. Um, I have a few things I could go to in the meantime that are on my list, but yeah, I don't know for sure right now. I I would like to just continue all the way through, but it's like we're halfway through, but I feel like I've been watching this series for a lot longer. It just it's just paced that way. It's like I'll determine it, like I said, by the end of the reaction. I'll talk about it in the afterthoughts, and if we do put it on hold, I'll make sure that we come right back to it after whatever we temporarily replace it with. Um, but that being said, we're gonna get on with this reaction and see what we've got in store for this episode. So, um, yeah, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black, then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we will begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. I really like this episode for a number of reasons. One of the big reasons. Let's talk about the smaller stuff first. One of the reasons I like this was that it didn't hold too long on Jane running away. Like that could have been made like a kind of like this story arc for the rest of this season, even, where they have to end up finding her and they just keep missing her or anything. But no, they handle that right away the next episode after it happens, which I appreciate. And the stuff they do with it, with this Karen personality that she has, um, is really interesting because I don't know if it's just me, but it makes me think, it reminds me of WandaVision. Like, it's so similar. You have this character, this woman who has all these different powers, technically with different personalities, which is different from Wanda, but still. Um, but she's creating this dream life for herself, complete with like a dream husband, or fiance, I guess. Um, she's brainwashing, which Wanda did in WandaVision, and kind of forcing this idea that doesn't really exist outside of her little world. It's so similar, and even the preoccupation with rom-coms is very similar to Wanda's preoccupation with sitcoms. It's it's so similar, and it's like this first season, I believe, came out in 2019. I want to say. I'm not 100% confident in that though. Um, God, I could look it up. Uh, duh, 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 duh. Let me see. Yeah, 2019. April 2019. I was right. So that was easy to look up because I already had a page open because I'll talk about it later, but I was looking something up. But yeah, so this came out in 2019, so only a couple years ago now. It's weird to think that 2019 was a couple years ago, but still. um, yeah, it's just with all of that going on. God, I lost my train of thought there. I lost my train of thought because I was looking that up. Um, but seeing this happen, it's like this came out before WandaVision, and I don't know which was in the process of being made first. I just don't know, but it's just wild that they're so similar. They're just so similar. Um, and I don't know. It's weird, but I enjoyed this more than WandaVision. I know this is only like a single episode compared to WandaVision's however many it had. Um, but I enjoyed this more, just in terms of the characters and the way it was handled. I thought it worked better and it actually, you know, fit a little better. It actually just, in my opinion, was better handled in terms of its writing, in terms of its characters, in terms of all of that. Have said before that I think WandaVision was okay. It was good, I guess, but it wasn't like amazing or anything. And honestly, the best parts of WandaVision had nothing to do with Wanda or Vision. It was a Monica Rambeau. The best parts of WandaVision were easily the stuff with Rambeau and all of that going on. But it's like with what we've got with this episode of Doom Patrol, it just handles it better. I feel like I don't know. It's just this feels like it should be like a one episode thing rather than like a full series. Because with a full series, like with WandaVision, it got really old really quickly, like almost right away. And I think that's why I gravitated so much towards the stuff with Monica Rambeau because it was different and it changed things up with the series in a way that needed to be done at that point. Plus, I just think it was better written and everything. Um, but beyond that, I also really liked Larry's little storyline in this episode. We find out that he was probably right after his accident. We're not exactly sure. It doesn't like say explicitly in the episode, but probably right after the accident, he's taken by this Bureau of Normalcy, this secret government organization that is dedicated to wiping out anything abnormal, anything weird, anything strange, anything they view as not normal. And obviously, with his powers and everything, just all of that going on, Larry is seen as not normal. We don't see how he ended up escaping from them, though. I assume it's going to have something to do with his spirit, the electrical spirit within him. But we don't actually know as of right now, at least. Um, but this also struggles a lot with his kind of self acceptance, which has been a big thing for him, as we know. And it struggles. This episode shows his struggle with that, and I don't think it's solved anything really with it, but I think it's a step in the right direction. Um, but the biggest appeal of this for me was Danny. Just everything to do with that main part of this episode. And yeah, it might be like, of course it is. It might be it might come across that way. Like, of course that's your favorite part of this. But like, yeah, of course it is. It's like it really hits the mark for me in pretty much every way. For one, when Mara Lee Krupt and Larry is are singing the Kelly Clarkson song, it's like God, I haven't heard that song in so long too. It's a great song, and it's perfect for the episode and the context of the episode and whatnot. But geez, it's been so long since I've heard that. It's such a good song though. Um, I recognized it right away, which shows that it has stood out to me in the past. Um, that it definitely is something that I remember, even if I haven't heard it in a long time. Um, but yeah, just that scene was really fantastic for Larry's character arc as well as morally for her character um, as introduced in this episode and everything. But it seemed like it wasn't real, which is a little disappointing. It seemed like it was maybe Larry imagining it, which really kind of sucks because it was so good. Um, but but the biggest thing that obviously appeals to me the most with this episode and with the Danny storyline that this episode focuses on, it's it's pretty obvious. It's the queer representation. And this show hasn't shied away from doing that kind of thing before. It's like this series is definitely very friendly towards that kind of thing because of what the series is. It's in a lot of ways, this series is about giving a voice to the voiceless, taking people that society deems as weird or unusual or just untouchables, basically, and giving them a voice, giving them just a chance to truly be themselves and shine. Like, that's very clearly a big point of this series. So, yeah, it's not a surprise or any kind of like big shock that the series would also tackle queerness because it's the same kind of concept. Yeah, obviously, in a much different way because of the entire superhero aspect of all this and with all the wild powers and just situations and circumstances everyone's in. It's very different, clearly, but the basic gist of it is there, and I just appreciate how they handled it, how they make it feel natural to this series. So the main focus of this episode is on this street called Danny. It is a sentient, genderqueer street that can teleport anywhere in the world at will. And that in order to survive, its citizens need to remain happy and just generally in a positive state of mind. So Danny is also shown to be able to just help people bring out their true selves and understand their true selves in the first place, as we see with Morris. So Morris was an agent for the Bureau of Normalcy who was sent to investigate in order to eventually stop Danny. And while there, Morris ended up going through a lot of self discovery. And in that, she found her true self and became morally corrupt. And it's never explicitly stated in the episode, but I had to look it up because I wasn't sure. I was not confident in one way or the other if Maura Lee is trans. And it seems like a lot of people are saying and believing she is. Um, but there's no like official word on that, at least as of this episode. I don't know if the character ends up coming back at any point. I would love that, but in the episode, there is a lot of like subtext spoken that kind of gives hints that she probably is, and at the same time, a lot of drag performers, either way, do tend, while in drag in costume, do tend to refer to themselves with she/her pronouns, no matter what pronouns they go with in their normal day to day. So I was during the reaction referring to Mara with he/him pronouns still, just because I didn't know, and I apologize about that. And from here on out, I'm going to refer to her with she/her pronouns because it does seem to be telling us, again, from subtext and whatnot, that she is probably trans. And even if not, we're going to refer to her with the pronouns that she uses in her true persona of morally corrupt. So, yeah. But yeah, so she becomes a denizen of Danny, a denizen, a citizen, whatever you want to call it, um, and is working to help. So when Larry and Vic end up arriving, she and Danny asks them for help, and they talk, they get to know each other, they figure things out, and it's honestly just a really great storyline. And I love the big confrontation in the end when the Bureau of Normalcy comes in. And at first, Mora is going to go back to her old life and try to take out the Bureau of Normalcy from the inside. But but Danny is like, no, fuck that. I'm not letting you go. You're my friend. I love and care about you. I'm not letting you go back to that. And so Danny, Vic, Larry, and Maura Lee fight back. And honestly, it's mostly Maura Lee. Yeah, Danny helps, of course. But Vic and Larry are really not doing much at that point. And honestly, I like that. I like that the spotlight gets to shine on Maura Lee instead, and that she is the focus, that she is the one who truly saves Danny in that moment. And she kicks the shit out of the dude. I don't even remember his name, but she kicks the shit out of him. She beats him up and is basically like, "Oh no, you do not get come back here." And this is after he had already called them like all freaks, and he had like berated Marley for what she had become, and even trying to tell her straight up, it's like, this isn't you. And it's like the big thing like that kind of got under my skin a little bit was when he was like, you're a man. Like, he specifically said those words, which is one of the very big subtext moments to kind of hint at her being trans. But I mean, obviously it can also connect to drag, sure. um but that part really did get under my skin, admittedly, because of my own experiences. And so, yeah, that's honestly one of, if not the biggest reason I love this episode so much and love this entire plotline with Danny, the genderqueer teleporting street, who uses they them pronouns, as well as Maura Lee, because of my own experiences, my own connections with it, because of being trans, of being queer, of just opening up to that side of me. I know what Maura Lee has gone through because I've been there. I've experienced that moment of clarity. I understand. And I wish I was as fierce as she is. I wish I was as strong as she is to be able to fight back against my oppressors like that. It's just, it's really good. It's the meaningfulness is what really sends this over the top for me, and is what really makes this episode matter to me. But I mean, it's not just that. This episode has other great stuff too. Cliff having the dance battle with the kid was phenomenal. Not just because it was funny and cute, but also because it was meaningful. When the kid first rode by, looked at Cliff, and then rode back off, Cliff was upset because he had been othered. He had already been othered by Karen, not being allowed to go in because of the way he looks. And it's like, yeah, this kind of stuff he's been struggling with, of course. So he sees this kid do it as well, and it's like kids are known for being more accepting of all of that. So he's probably, and especially with his issues with his own child, his own daughter, even if she's not a kid anymore, it probably upset him very much. I mean, we saw it upset him. But then the kid comes back dressed in a robot costume, a homemade robot costume, and starts and basically just wordlessly, silently challenges him to a dance battle. And it's not only just again cute and funny, it's nice. And Cliff, like he goes through with it. He dance battles this kid, and we never find out the winner because it's not about that. It doesn't matter. Someone accepted Cliff for who he is and wanted to have fun with him, wanted to spend time with him. If you don't think that mattered to Cliff, you haven't been paying attention to this series. You haven't been paying attention to Cliff's character. That mattered. And getting to see as well just how this personality of Jane, this Karen personality, works and operates and thinks. It just, it was really interesting. And seeing at the end how she seems to be locked away, but at the same time, it leaves Jane in almost an unresponsive, well, not even almost, just a completely unresponsive state after the wedding had kind of been ruined. It's like, oh, shit's kind of escalated, to put it simply. Um, we also see that Danny does help Vic and Larry out in the end, but initially didn't want to say anything about Mr. Nobody because they wanted to keep all the citizens of Danny safe, all the Dannysons. So it's clear that Danny knows Mr. Nobody, which makes sense considering Danny knows Niles. And I'm just wondering, like, within Mr. Nobody's powers, he's kind of all knowing, right? So I'm sure he already knows about Danny, he already knows where Danny is at all times. And it's like, I don't think you're going to be able to keep any of this from Mr. Nobody, anyways. But it's interesting because we got a brief glimpse of that comic that that Danny showed to Vic that I guess has some of the answers in it, but we didn't really get all the information for it. Um, I might go back and look at that. I might just wait and see what happens um, with future episodes. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. Just all the representation, all the just love genuine love for the queer community in this. It's just, it truly felt like an empowering episode. And I loved it. I just thought it was fantastic. It was well handled. It was extremely wonderful to see. And yeah, I'm fully in on Maura Lee, and I do hope she returns. I would love to see her and Danny return at some point. That would be awesome. Because this storyline with the Bureau of Normalcy, I would not say is complete. Again, we don't know how Larry escaped from them, and I definitely do not believe that that's all we're going to see of them, especially after what we got as the ending. I don't think that's the last we're going to see of especially that one guy. I don't remember his name. I don't know if it's going to return like anytime soon, like even this season. It might return in season 2, but I would love to see all of this plot return at some point in the future. Um, but yeah, this was really fun, really enjoyable, and really meaningful. And a lot of the series has been really meaningful with a lot of big topics. Mental health being another big one they showcased. And again, I've said it before, but I'll say it again here. Um, I went into this expecting it to just be kind of a funny parody of superhero stuff. And instead, I'm getting a series that, yeah, has a lot of good comedy and parody to it, but is also extremely progressive and respective towards a lot of serious issues. A series that doesn't really hold any punches when it comes to discussing these very serious topics, such as mental health and queer representation. It really stands firm on support for these groups. And I would love to see what more they do with this kind of concept in the future. I want to see what more they can do to represent these low, how do I word this? These people who are just looked down on, these groups of people who are just so looked down upon by so many people in this world still to this day. I would just really love to see how they handle more of that kind of thing going forward. Um, but in the meantime, tell me in the comments below what you thought of this episode of Doom Patrol. Um, and I'm just going to say right off the bat, in regards to what I was talking about in the pre-thoughts, I'm not going to be taking a break. And not just because I really enjoyed this episode. Um, I looked at the list of stuff I have for other donation rewards, because this is a donation reward series. I only have 2 more shows upcoming currently. One of which is Miraculous, which we already did season 1 for. But both of those have like 20 something episodes. Like either of the choices I could go to take if I took a break from this have 20 something episodes. And it's like at that point, it's like that would take quite a bit of time to get through. Even if I did 2 episodes a week, that would still be like over 10 weeks. And I'm not gonna just like switch to just something of my choice in this slot, because this is meant to be a donation reward slot. I'd only switch to like a my choice kind of thing once we're out of donation rewards, when that happens, if that happens, yada yada. But yeah, it's like I'm not going to just do that. So I think it would be best to just continue at this point. Plus, again, I really love this episode, and it's kind of reinvigorated my investment in the series a little bit. And again, it's not like I was never not invested. It's just because of the hour-long length, I was kind of like just concerned, you know. But I think we'll be fine. I think it'll all be good. So we will be continuing Doom Patrol. Um, And again, I wasn't going to drop it or anything. I was just going to put it on hold while we watch something else in the meantime. So yeah, more Doom Patrol next week. Like I said, though, in the meantime, tell me your thoughts on this episode down in the comments below, and thank you so much for tuning in. No spoilers for anything for the future. Do not tell me anything about what happens in future episodes. For now, though, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. So see y'all next time.